Today we're going to go through my 6 tips for spring cleaning your home garage. We're going to take my garage, which has become a disaster over the winter, to this. Now we're going to go through the list of everything that needs to get done in this garage, and we're going to start with number 1 through 6. Now I typically do these in this order, but you could probably go in any different order you like. As you can see around us, the garage is a mess. You know, I have parts and stuff stacked up on a project car. I have things on the ground that should not be on the ground. I have projects that I'm going to get to at some point, but haven't been able to get to yet, that are just sitting in the corner of the garage. I have some projects that I finished that I've left sitting in the corner of the garage. My workbench is filled up with projects from the past few weeks. You know, I probably clean that once a week, and when I do finally finish a project, it becomes a disaster again. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean this entire garage and get it ready for spring. It's going to include everything from cleaning in the garage to getting the doors ready. So let's go ahead and let's start talking and getting through project number 1. Now for project number 1, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get everything off the floor in here. The floor isn't really a good place for storage unless you're looking for bigger things like a jack stand or a jack. Yeah, that makes sense on the floor, but car parts, trash, things that need to get thrown out, things that don't even belong in the garage, you know, we're going to spend some time, we're going to get them out of the garage. Over the winter, the garage kind of becomes a little bit of a storage for me. You know, as I walk in, first place I walk into it every day is into the garage, and when I walk through the garage, I end up putting something down that probably doesn't need to be there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get everything off the floor that I can to move on to the next step. All right, so everything's up and off the floor and the garage is already starting to look better. Now it's nice because I can actually roll my chair around without running things over. So now that the floor is done, we're gonna move on to the next step, which is working on the tools and the benches. So what I'm gonna be doing is taking tools off of here and we're gonna see where we can find a place for them. Now my philosophy on tools is everything should have a place. We know realistically, not everything's gonna have a place. So what does that mean if you don't have a place for a tool? If you're constantly buying tools and adding to your collection, you know, it tends to get a little bit disorganized because now you have tools that don't live anywhere. So the philosophy that I typically live by when something like this happens is, you know, if I buy a tool and I don't have a place for it yet, I'm gonna put that tool in the first place that I'm gonna go looking for it. Now, for example, like a face mill like this, I don't have a place for it yet. Everything that I have has a container and it's neatly stacked up. So if I don't have a place for this yet, I'm still gonna put it with the other collets or the other end mills, just so that if I'm gonna be looking for this, I know where I'm gonna find it. And it's the same thing with any new mill tools that I get. I'm gonna put them with a mill. You know, if I get some new screwdrivers, I'm gonna put them in the screwdriver drawer, even though my drawer is neatly organized enough so that I have places for each one of the screwdrivers that I currently own. I'm still gonna put that new screwdriver in there, even though it doesn't have a cutout in the Kaizen foam that I'm using. So for example, I don't have a lot of places for my milling tools yet, so I put them all over here with the mill to get organized after. So as I go, I'm gonna put everything back that has a home right now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take the next step, and I'm gonna take these, and I'm gonna find a place to put them. Now, for blocks like this, I'm actually gonna mount it on the side of the cabinet, I think. Now, for this tool, I'm constantly using it when I change out the bits, so I gotta find a good place for that that's easily accessible. But it's given me some time to look, to stop and say, all right, now if I need to better organize this, where should everything go? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clean off this entire bench, or at least make it look a little better. Now on the top of my toolbox, I've kind of let it get out of hand. So I need to go through and take everything out of here and figure out where everything belongs. During the year, it ends up being pretty much, if I don't have a place for something, it ends up here. I'm gonna fix that. All right, so I have this socket drawer, and one of the things I'm noticing is a lot of the bigger sockets that I have don't fit So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end up cutting some holes in here, just make these a little bit deeper for these sockets here, and then probably just creating a pocket up here for them to sit in. Now they won't be nested like screwdrivers, which is a drawer that still needs to be organized, but at least they'll have a place to be rather than up here on the top. All right, so we made some progress on it and it looks so much better now and a lot cleaner. So I was able to take a lot of the stuff from up top there and move it down to here, at least for the bigger sockets. And now they have a place, you know, not as organized as having it within this material, but the drawer closes. So up here, it's been the first time in a long time that this will actually shut now. I keep all my torque wrenches and stuff up here, some bigger crimpers that I cannot put anywhere else, or I don't have enough room for some anywhere else. Now, one of the important things for me while I do this is to get a little bit better. I'm not going to be perfect year one, and it's a lot of work to get everything perfect, but still trying to figure out where I want things in this garage and, you know, spending some time getting it step by step, year by year, a little bit better. It's better than nothing. Now, the next thing we're going to work on is our garage doors. Garage doors are expensive and they're important to maintain. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do 3 maintenance steps that I do every single year to make sure that the garage door is working in perfect order. Now, there's a few things that you do when you work on the garage doors. Now, the first thing to do is I'm going to clean up each one of these sensors. Now, these sensors are supposed to make sure that nothing's in the way when you open and shut the door, or else it'll interrupt it just so you don't crush anything or you don't hurt yourself. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean these up. Now, what I typically do is I typically make sure that the adjustments are good, and then I go ahead and vacuum around them because, as you can see, they need to be vacuumed around. And the way that they work is they send a beam. So like from this one, you can see the other one all the way down there. So it goes down to that one. And when that beam gets interrupted, I think you can see that green light. So when that beam gets interrupted, like this, that light goes off. So the light is on when there's nothing in the way. Light is off when there's something in the way. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean these up because they're a giant mess. I'm going to make sure everything's aligned correctly. Now, if one of these is not working and you need to replace it, the easiest way to replace it is to actually splice in one like that. That way you don't need to replace the wire, because when you look at the wire starts there, goes all the way up, and then it goes to wherever you have the remote for it. So we're not going to do that, but that's the easiest way to replace it. Now, with all these clean, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to move on to the next step. All right, for the next step, now that we have the sensors all clean, we're going to go ahead and move to the doors themselves. Now, when looking at the doors, there's a few moving mechanisms on it, a few moving pieces that we need to make sure that we maintain and keep up with. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to lubricate some of the rollers. So these rollers that you see on the garage door keep the garage door in line and make sure that it opens and closes correctly. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to lubricate these. Now, the way that they work is, you know, there's a roller here that you can see this piece spins, and then also this spins. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some lubrication to both sides of it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add some lubrication inside of here, and then I'm going to add some more lubrication in here. And I'll link in the description what I'm using, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on each one of these now. Now, I usually just grab some of this blaster and I end up putting it in each area that needs lubrication. And I make sure that I run it down as far as I can on every piece. Now, I'll go ahead and I'll do that on the center ones as well that are there. The only reason why I didn't do it yet is because when you do put it on the center ones, it's going to drip so you can get it on the car. Now, the goal was to get on all the moving pieces or all the parts that are going to pivot. Now that we did that, we can open and close the door a few times and make sure everything works smoothly. Now that we have those 2 steps done, we're going to do one more thing on the garage doors, and that last thing is make sure all the seals are good. Now, If you lasted over the winter with them, you'd know if they're leaking or not, but it's always a good idea to look at the seals and clean them. Now, all the seals go around the edges of the door and on the bottom of the door. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at each one, and then we're gonna end up cleaning them. It's especially important that you clean the grime off them so that it doesn't stick. Now, here are where the seals are. So the seals are gonna be right here, and you can see on the outside, they are pretty dirty. Now, we don't need to worry about those too much, but we are gonna clean those. But what's really important is on the insides of the seals, because these are what actually seals up against the door. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clean all these. I'm gonna make sure there are no cracks in them anyway across the top or the bottom, and I'm gonna clean them. Now, with all the seals cleaned up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on to the next step. We're gonna clean the seals that are actually on the door. Now, where the door will meet the ground, it'll be on my garage floor. You can see there's a black mark there, a dark mark. We're gonna make sure that the floor is cleaned around it, but we're also gonna clean the seals on the door itself. Now, if these seals do go, you will end up getting water in your garage. They're easy to replace. All you have to really do is go to Home Depot or buy them online, and then they just screw right onto the bottom of the door. So it's not hard to replace if there's an issue, but we can go ahead and we can take a look at mine. Now you can see on my garage door that the seals are all intact. The rubber is still pliable, so there isn't any issues there, but they are dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna clean everything up, and with everything clean, then I should be all set with the doors for the year. Just making sure that there's no issues. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and clean it up. Now, the easiest way to clean it up is to pull down on this, disconnect the garage door for a little bit, and then bring it down some, and then clean it up. Now for me, I typically use some isopropyl alcohol on them to clean them up, and it comes out typically pretty good. So it's important that you clean the floor after you do this. But as you can see, they do get pretty dirty over the year. Now, one of the last things that I do every year before I finish up the garage, it's probably a ritual that I do pretty much every weekend, is I use a leaf blower, a little electric one like this, and I blow all the dust out of the garage. Everything's pretty clean, but having a leaf blower like this where you can actually clean the floor off and make sure nothing is left, it's really nice. All right, well, that's it. The garage is cleaned up. It's ready for the year, and it's good to start projects this way. Now, one of the things I noticed in here is while looking in the toolbox, I actually have a lot more room for tools. So, an added benefit of going through spring cleaning and making sure that everything's set up for you for the year. Thanks for tuning in this week on Smackey's Garage. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.